Hey, everybody. So last week we started a discussion about how God can use ordinary people and ordinary objects to do extraordinary things, and how God works with what we have and what's in our hands. That often we can dream of having more, or we tell ourselves we'd be capable of doing a lot of things, or we would see or witness more miracles if we just had this or that. But that in the case of God, He can use simple things, or what's in our hands, or what it is that we have now, to bring about His will. In the case of Moses, it was the staff that was in his hand. And today I want to look at a story that's found in 2 Corinthians 4, which is with a widow and oil. Now, this widow comes to Elijah and is begging Elijah for help because she's a widow, and her late husband has many debts, and now the debtors are coming to collect these debts. And she's saying to Elijah, my my sons are going to be sold into slavery because I cannot afford to pay the debts that these debtors collectors are coming to get. So Elijah says, not quite the same as what's in your hand, but he says, what do you have? And she actually says, nothing. I have nothing. Well, except just a little bit of oil. So Elijah says, okay, well, just take this oil that you have, go door to door, and ask your neighbors to give you any jars that they have. And then once you've received all of these jars, go into your home and just begin to pour the little oil that you have into these jars, and keep doing it until you are done. So she does this. She goes and she asks for jars from her neighbors, and that she and her kids, her sons, lock themselves up in their house and begin to pour the oil into these jars. And the oil just keeps coming, to the point that the widow asks for another jar, and her son says, that's it. We've filled all of the jars. And it's only then that the oil runs out. And then Elijah says, take these jars of oil, sell them, and pay off your debts. This widow was asked, what do you have? And her immediate reply is, nothing. Well, maybe a little. Are we like that in our life, that when God calls us towards something, or we feel that we are to take a step in faith, that we feel like we have nothing, or that what we do have is going to be inadequate for the situation or moment that we are walking into? Truly, with God, we have great things, because He uses what it is we have. He uses what's in our hands to do amazing works. And it's not necessarily what we have, but it's what God does with it. In the case of Moses, it wasn't his staff, but it was God's influence and work through the staff. In the case of the oil and the jars, it wasn't really the oil or the jars, but it was God's miracles through it. Let's not look at ourselves as less, or what we have as little, but let's trust God that as we go through life, that whatever situation we find ourselves in, that God will provide what it is that we need. Sorry, just lost my phone there for a second. Like I was saying last week, I still want to say it today, that when we see little, or we speak little, or feel little, then very often we're going to dream and do little. But with God, little can do amazing things. So let's not see what we have or who we are as little, but let us trust that through God's influence and work, He can bring about great and amazing things. He can work through us, and every one of us has something that we can offer, something that God can use to bring His miracles and help us in our journey of life and faith. God bless. Take care.